Think of these three selves in a very literal way. A miniature you in the center of the brain, a miniature you in the center of the chest, a miniature you in the center of the digestive system. Each of these selves, they have the seven chakras, they have the 12 major meridians, the 12 shadow meridians, the eight extraordinary channels. So full energy bodies. You, the collective self, that fourth self, if you will, are responsible for their growth, their evolution, their training. If you are simply a person of the world, they learn through your physical actions. And if your physical actions are more material, in other words, they are not considerate of the divine nature, they are not considerate of the soul and the path of passion, if they're just purely materialistic actions, those three selves will be trained in such a way. And they are oriented to focus on slightly different things: upper world, middle world, lower world. So just as your higher self will cause all levels of you to evolve, feeding a purely materialistic paradigm will cause those selves to actually de-evolve. It will overemphasize their lower chakras. So the higher self becomes more like the middle self. The middle self becomes more like the lower self. The lower self becomes more like a hungry ghost. So how one lives their life determines how these three selves evolve over time. They have their own nature. These three selves are super beings. It is the middle self, the human self that you experience yourself to be, that gets to channel those energies and is therefore responsible for how those selves evolve over time. This is why spiritual practice is imperative. This is why the ancient Greek civilization emphasized the perfection of every dimension of the human being, be it the physique, be it the intellect, be it the character. They were obsessed with that. That is the perfection of the three selves. And they took it into a certain direction based on their culture and their civilizational focus. But nevertheless, that's an example. To become a polymath, one who possesses many skills that exist on all three worlds, that is the path of self-mastery that encourages these three selves to grow and evolve. Now, there are those who wish to grow them, the three selves, in ways that are more simple, more spiritual. Physical action will still be required. Physical action will still be involved, but nevertheless, through meditations, through visualizations, these three selves can be spiritually awakened, and all of them can go through an enlightenment process. Imagine if all of the chakras in each of these three selves were totally awakened. It would be as if these three selves were really a part of just one self. And imagine if these three selves and the 21 chakras in total were correspondent and entangled with the chakras of your physical body. There would be no difference between the three selves and the collective self that you experience yourself as. There would only be the self. And you've arrived. You never left. You've always been here. That's the fourth level. The three selves become the self. And then there's no longer me, myself, and I. It becomes silly. It's just life, experiencing life. All other labels are identity. And that's just a game you can play with at that point. And you will have the powers of the three selves and that fourth greater self being in alignment with that fourth self, the collectivity of it all. This is indistinguishable from operating as a source avatar, completely indistinguishable. This is the path of the Christos. It is a path of self-mastery. Most people in their lives, they will focus on just one of those selves. They'll nourish the lower self, and then higher and middle become more like it. Those who are focusing on these types of topics, more of the upper self. Those whom are living these teachings in their lives, middle self, and those whom are applying it in their lifestyle and in how they operate within, publicly and privately, lower self. So you can evolve all three selves, thus awakening the super self, which has no real limit because all things are an expression of it. It's just life interfacing with life.